Hi, this is Stephen Brower, and this video is for CISY 256 Computer Architecture and Assembly Language. Um, this is for the class that would have been on February 1st. What I want to do for this video is just do sort of a brief course overview, and I'm going to use the syllabus as a way of framing that. Now, your line stem will look a little bit different than mine, but somewhere you're going to have a group that says my courses, click here too. And you want to go into our course, the Computer Architecture and Assembly Language. When you get into it, on the right-hand side, there is going to be a link for the syllabus and for the schedule. Now, the schedule is going to have to change because it doesn't reflect that there was no class on February 1st yet. But the syllabus most likely won't change. The syllabus is where there's information on sort of policies and other things like the book, which is what I want to go over right now. There are two books for the course. There's the book by Stallings, which is Computer Organization and Architecture, the book by Irvine, which is the assembly language for the x86 processors. The Stallings book, this is where we will see information about like how a computer works, what happens inside the processor, how cache is organized, and also the homework for the course is going to be from the Stallings book. The assembly book, well, we're going to be programming in assembly, and so this book is going to be the language reference for the assembly language programming. Specifically, we're going to be using MASM, which is the Microsoft assembler. And so this book is written along the lines of MASM, and what the author has produced is a library that we can use to make some things a little bit easier. In terms of which book to bring to class, since we are going to be programming in class, the assembly language book is one you're going to want to bring to class so that you can refer to it for writing of the labs. The architecture book you can leave at home. Now, I will be leaving a copy of each in the library in the reference section. They're not there yet, and I do apologize, but they will be there. But one of the things, even if you are using them as for reference in the reference section, you can't bring them to class. So you'll really have to find some way of referencing the assembly language in the class itself, because the slides might not be enough to go over all of the different options for the commands that we're going to be doing in assembly. Well, this is me, and my office is at the end of the hall in the computer science department. The idea of the office hours, you just drop in, and during one of these times, it's first come, first serve. If these aren't convenient, schedule an appointment. Obviously, it's subject to me like being well to be in. The first night, which we haven't yet had, is going to be atypical, but usually what will happen is I will do the architecture lecture, I will do the assembly lecture, I'll introduce the lab, and then the rest of the time at night is going to be to work on the lab. In terms of how long these take, it's going to vary chapter to chapter. Some of the architecture chapters may take a little bit longer, some of the assembly may take a little bit longer. But roughly, it's roughly 2 hours for the lecture and 3 hours for the lab. These are the grading determinants for what everything is worth for the course. As I mentioned, the homework is from the Stallings book, and my approach is only to assign 5 questions or problems. So usually it's well, the exception of the one on chapters 9 and 11, usually it's 4 review questions and 1 problem. The one from chapters 9 and 11 is going to be all problems, but 5 is the sort of the number that I go for. The computers in the lab have the software that we need. We're going to be using Visual Studio, and integrated into Visual Studio is the Microsoft Assembler. We are going to be downloading the library that the author provides, the Irvine, so the writing of the labs, we will do that in class. If you have a computer that can run Visual Studio, you could use that laptop in class. As for working at home, there is going to be an exam 2, and there is going to be a project, one assembly project. So for closer to exam 2 and closer to the project, it would be helpful to have access to a computer outside of class so that you can work on those. Basically for homework, I'm kind of flexible and how that can be submitted. Well, to a point, but you can do it handwritten. You can write it up in Word. I do ask if you email it to either have it be a Word document or an RTF. So if you are using something like OpenOffice, save it in RTF format and send me the RTF file. I mentioned the labs. So the latter part of class is going to be programming and assembly. There's going to be a couple of exceptions, like when we're doing conversions. The labs will be doing conversions on that point. There's one project for the semester that will be the latter part of the semester. There's going to be 3 exams. Exam 2 is going to be a open note, open book, open computer, and it's going to be a programming exam in assembly. Exam 1 and the final exam is going to be closed book, closed note, no electronic devices. Exam 1 and the final is going to be on both the architecture and the assembly. Closer to each one, and now again, remember the schedule is a little bit off, but closer to each one, I'll have things like there's the exam review for that, there's exam review for that one, exam review for that one. So I will go over the format and the content of each of those exams. Submit things on time. For Life Happens, you will have for homework and for labs, you're allowed 1 Life Happens each. And the idea behind it is you can submit something up to 1 week late, ask for the Life Happens, and it will be considered on time. You still have to hand it in. So it's not like you're going to say Life Happens and don't hand it in. You still have to hand in the assignment, and you can't submit in April something that was due in February. So there's only a 1 week limit in terms of the Life Happens. Early in the semester, what I might do is only take off 10 points for something that's late, and I'll have you hold that Life Happens for later in the semester when you need a whole week. And at the end of the semester, if you don't use the Life Happens, I'll roll back those 10 points. Cheating policy, don't cheat. There will be certain times throughout the semester where I'm going to post some code up in Lion's Den, and you have my permission to use the code that I post in whole or part, but you cannot use your neighbor's code at all. A number of labs and the project will have extra credit opportunities, but other than that, there's no extra credit. So if you don't do any homework until April and you suddenly realize you're not doing too well, you can't ask for extra credit. First, things like in the classroom, I ask that you leave your cell phones on, but on vibrate. If there's an emergency, I want to be aware of it. Especially when I'm doing demos, I do understand that there's going to be quick questions like which file did he open, which line is he on, which variable is he talking about, and it's those short bursts of question answer I'm okay with. It's the long conversations that do bother me too much. Excuse me. Try your darndoodliest not to swear in class. I'll try my darndoodliest as well. When I'm in the lecture part, I ask that you don't print from the computers. Don't be too noisy on the computers. It's obvious when someone's playing a game by the way the keystrokes are going on there, and I do find it distracting. Sometimes I take attendance based on what's returned. So I'll return an assignment, and whatever hasn't been picked up, someone's late. Generally for night classes, it's either we have class or we don't. There hasn't been, since I've been here, a delayed opening beyond 5:30. You should check these policies and procedures to make sure that you are okay with these. Okay, so just a reminder that from within Lion's Den, from the course homepage, there's links to the syllabus and to the schedule. The schedule, which will be updated, will have the list of topics and we'll have the list of what's due when. The syllabus has the policies and the procedures. It also then has a mention of the books. Again, the assembly book is one that you should bring to class so you can refer to it for working on the labs. The architecture book is one that you can keep at home for working on the homework. As for this first week, February 1st, I may have a couple other videos, but for the course overview, I think this is it for right now.